Hola, amigos. Welcome to Spain Impossible. This is the Fat Loss After 50 podcast, and this is step 12 of the blueprint. And my camera seems like it's a little, well, I'm in the truck, man. I got to do what I can to record, and I'm not going to reach over and monkey with the camera after I'm already recording because I just shoot from the hip. I don't do this stuff with, uh, you know, edits and cuts and this, that, and the other thing. You guys know that if you've watched my videos. But anyways, this is step 12 of the blueprint. And step 12 is all about ending the pause and reevaluating what's been happening. So before we dive in, welcome. Welcome. Thank you for coming along on this journey with me. Thank you for subscribing to this channel. Thank you for liking these videos. Thank you for, dropping a comment and saying, hey, man, you're blowing me away with 80 pounds of weight loss, or, thanks for the info or, whatever. I enjoy engaging with you guys in the comments. So keep them coming. And if you got a suggestion or I covered something in a video and you need more information on it, drop it in the comments. It's the easiest way to get me. And I respond to my comments within 24, 48 hours at the worst. And we can have a conversation in there, because if we have a conversation in there, somebody else needs to know what's going on. They can look in the comments and go, oh, I had that question too, and they already solved it for me. So anyways, it's cold. It is butt ass cold here in the north. We just went through a big snowstorm over the weekend. Thanksgiving was last week, so it was snowing on Thanksgiving. It was snowing the night before Thanksgiving. It was snowing the night after or not the night after. On Saturday, it snowed like crazy all night. I spent hours on Sunday digging us out, and our driveway ain't that big. We just got that much damn snow. And I got a snowblower and a shovel, but you know what? I'm still a little sore from it. And here we are Wednesday. So, big snows up in the north. It's cold. I think it's like 18 degrees today. But I'm out on the road. I'm in the truck. I'm not far from home. So if I don't get anything else, I'm going home tonight, sleep in a nice warm bed. But this is step 12. Let's talk about step 12. Now, if you've been through step 10 and you've tried to add some foods back in and seen what happened, and you've been through step 11 and you did a pause, if you did a 2-week pause, I just did a 2-week pause, and I ended up gaining weight, and I was doing some of the additional foods and things like that. Not much, 1.4 pounds for the month of November, so it wasn't horrible, but it showed me that's that lifestyle creep that have, taken us from, under 200 pounds in our teens to 300 pounds in our 40s. It's just that little pound, that little half pound, maybe in the wintertime, a 2-pound month. And then in summer, maybe we're a little more active and we take off a couple of pounds. So it's just shown me, like, that's exactly how that happens. It's not like you're deliberately out there pigging down on candy and Twinkies and oatmeal cream pies and moon pies and all these other things. It's just the standard American diet. And we know that the foods in the standard American diet are no good for you, especially if you're going to fast food restaurants and things like that. So, and I had a couple of times where I went to some fast food restaurants. There are some that I've mentioned before, like the burrito places that it tempers it some, you can get rice and beans and, avocado, guacamole, avocado instead of sour cream, so there are some things you can do that fit the blueprint. But an Arby's roast beef sandwich and curly fries is not anywhere near the blueprint. But I hadn't had one in 7 months. And I used to get 3 roast beef sandwiches and a curly fry. And I said, you know what? I miss it. I'm going to have it. I'm on a pause so I can do this. And I had one roast beef sandwich and some curly fries. But it's not the right kind of food. It's just not good for you. So when we're in step 12, or what we're going to talk about in step 12, is reevaluating. You're coming out of the pause, or you're in the pause. You're having some meals that you haven't had in a long time. You're trying to think of some better ways, maybe to make some of your homemade favorites a little bit better. Instead of using ground beef in your chili, why not try using extra firm tofu? Just crumble it up in there. I did that over this past weekend with my wife. Still put the ground beef in there because my wife wants the ground beef in there, but she ate it. She's like, "You put tofu in there, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah, but did it taste bad?" No. And if you've never used tofu before, hey, raise your hand. I'd never used tofu before either. I had to YouTube some tofu stuff to figure out, hey, Costco had this 4-pack of extra firm tofu. And I'm like, you know what? I need to try that out because it's a good plant based protein and there's no reason to avoid it. So I took a third of the block and I crumbled that up in the chili right at the beginning when I put the beans and the seasoning and everything in the crock pot. And the tofu absorbed all that goodness, all that chili flavored goodness. And I crumbled it up real small, kind of like ground beef chunks. Just kind of in my hands, dumped it in there, broke it all up, and it held its shape. So, I mean, I've put like some of the other ground products that are out there in that are plant-based in with like other things and they just kind of dissolve into it. And I was like, well, that ain't no good unless you buy the crumbles, which they must do something to keep them crumbly. Um, but anyways, it's an option, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about reevaluating, like what can we do differently? What can we continue our weight loss path with? What can we add in? What maybe should we take away for a little while? Now, I haven't specifically taken anything away, other than the fact that I've been struggling with my exercise, even with the Planet Fitness membership, because, like I found out this last week, I was in a place where there wasn't a Planet Fitness anywhere near me. And I can't just drive 100 miles to go get my morning walk in. And when it's 28 degrees, when I get up at 5 a.m., I ain't going outside and taking a walk. I hate the cold. I hate it. I don't know how I'm going to survive this winter and next winter. But after my son graduates, after next winter, I ain't never seeing snow again unless it's up the side of a mountain. I am moving to Spain to a place that doesn't snow because I have had it with snow. I've lived in the northern US my whole life. 53 years of snow. I ain't doing it no more. But that's not part of the blueprint. So let's get back on topic. Why don't we? So coming out of the pause, I'll kind of lay out what I did. I mean, I got down to December 1st and checked my numbers for the month, and I knew it wasn't going to be good because I was doing step 10 in the beginning of the month, and then I did step 11, which is the pause for the last 2 weeks of the month. And I was like, we need to reevaluate. We need to figure out what we're doing. And it starts with diving 100% wholeheartedly back into the blueprint. I ordered more teas, which I was doing my teas, but I was almost out. So I needed to order more teas. But I was letting those slide on the weekends that I was home. I was like, that stuff's in the truck. I'll just have coffee on the weekends when I get home. And because I was at home, I was being a little more loosey-goosey over, end of October into November with, like chewy granola bars and as a snack and things like that. Instead of going out to the truck where all my stuff is and going, hey, let's grab some cashews, let's grab some pumpkin seeds, let's grab this or grab that, apples, those are in the truck. I don't want to walk all the way out to the truck. It's 30 degrees outside. But December is going to be wholeheartedly dive back into the blueprint. And you guys know I'm famous for saying on my days that I'm doing a 36-hour fast, no thank you, I'm fasting. Now it's no thank you, not till the end of December. So when I have one of those thoughts of, man, it'd be nice to have a slice of pizza, or man, it'd be nice to have an Arby's roast beef sandwich, or, something along those lines. No thanks. Not until the end of December, because December has to be rock solid. The food's got to be tight. We got to get back to losing weight. We got to get these last 20 pounds off. Not that I'm going to lose the 20 pounds all in December, although maybe. That would be my biggest month probably ever, ever, ever in losing weight if I lost 20 pounds in December. So wait and see for the December updates on that. Anyways, so my reevaluation came down to I need to get back 100% into the blueprint, other than the occasional meal at home. Like I've mentioned before, my wife loves to have taco night. You know what? If that's my one meal that I have, animal proteins for the week, not that big of a deal. It's not a deal breaker. I was doing it in the month before and still losing 14, 15 pounds for the month. So it's about getting rid of the pause, getting rid of the, trying to reintroduce and see, and reevaluating what you need to do from this point forward. And part of that step, you could say to me, like step 10 and step 11 threw me off, man. What the hell? Why'd you put those in there? Because ultimately we are going to have to figure out how to make sure this weight stays off long term. That's why those steps are in there. That's why you do those things, so that you can kind of learn and you can kind of go, oh, yeah, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to plan this, and I'm going to have to make sure that, I'm not scaling every day once I get to my goal weight. My plan is to scale once a week, and I'm going to have a set point that's probably only about 10 pounds. If I go up 10 pounds, I am straight back into the blueprint to get that 10 pounds back off, because I do not want the creep. I don't want to go. I've lost over 80 pounds. I'm going to end up losing probably 120 or more before I'm done. And there ain't no way in hell I'm going to let all that come back on and bring friends. So I don't know about you, but I got to figure this out. I got to figure out how in the heck I am going to live life outside of this blueprint, outside of the weight loss. And that's what step 10 and 11 are showing you. That's why they're there. So we learn from those things. How can we do this better? How can I go back to eating certain things and make sure that I'm doing better and I don't start getting the creep, so that after 6 months I'm up 50 pounds or 30 pounds or whatever it happens to be? How do I maintain this living life outside the blueprint? That's what step 11 and step 10 are trying to teach you. That's why 8 and 9 were so hard on the 36-hour fast. Get used to that 36-hour fast. Now I just fast on Mondays and I never even think about it. Like, it's written, when I'm doing my thing for my food journal, my daily diet tracking for the week, it's just 36-hour fast is written right across the freaking Monday. That's just the way it is. Now, in the reevaluation, like I said, I was up in November. I'm not going to have an up month anymore. I got to get the rest of this weight off. So December is going to be hardcore blueprint. It's going to be back to keeping the food tight, back to making sure that King Prince Popper is happening at every single meal, back to making sure that I've got all the fiber that I can get in my diet for the day, back to making sure that I'm doing things right and tight on the blueprint, and not skipping teas on the weekends, not skipping, hey, I want something to munch on, and not coming out to my truck and grabbing an apple, having, a couple of chewy granola bars, which are loaded with sugar and high processed everything else. I love Costco, but, hey, ultra processed food is ultra processed food. Doesn't matter where it comes from. So back into get the hell away from anything that's ultra processed. So that's part of my reevaluation. My other reevaluation is, I talked about this in the fasting videos. I didn't know that much about 5-2 fasting. And I did some research on 5-2 fasting. I didn't do like a deep dive, but I got a couple of people and I talked to a couple of them, and I watched some videos and stuff, and I was like, that makes sense. Because my thought process was always like, oh, well, then you fast for 2 days and take 5, where you pretty much eat whatever the hell you want. And that for me doesn't spell success, because we all know that if we eat whatever the hell we want and we fast for 2 days, that freaking whole pizza is going to go in on the day after. And, it's not going to be fiber conscious, protein conscious, healthy fat conscious. And it might not even include King Prince Popper. So that's not the way to go. That's why I didn't give it very much thought. But when I started digging into it and I started learning about it, which I encourage you all to do, if you hear about something, dig into it and learn. Like, seriously, read How Not to Diet by Dr. Michael Greger. It's an awesome book, and there is a lot of stuff in there that just gives you tweaks and little things that you can do. And that was part of the driving force for all of these things that I've heard over all these years coming out of my head and landing in the blueprint and finally leading me to lose weight. It wasn't all how not to diet, but there were some tricks and tips in there that definitely came out when all this stuff poured out of my head and I started following this blueprint. So read How Not to Diet. Dig into, there's I think I'll have to look up the title for it, but maybe you can look up the title for it, but it's all about fasting if I remember correctly. Good book. But the 36-hour fast is right and tight, and you do it good. And when you get used to it, it's not even a thought. Hey, Monday I'm fasting. I'm not saying Monday is the right day for you either. Your work schedule may dictate that Thursday's the day that you should fast. So just whatever it is, what is the easiest day for you to get through on a fast where you're not even thinking about food? That's what you need to think about, not necessarily doing exactly what I do, because my schedule's different from your schedule. You may work weekends. I sometimes work on the weekends, but to me, Monday's the easiest day, without a doubt. That's for me. Figure out what your easiest day is. And it may take some experimentation. But the 5-2 fasting really just is all about adding an additional 36-hour fast. So this is what I'm going to try in December, and I will let you know how well it worked. I am going to try fasting on Mondays, my 36-hour fast, which I've become accustomed to. It's simple, it's easy. I'm telling you, you do it like four weeks in a row, and it's like a no-brainer. You don't even think about it. Other than the occasional, like when you're bored, going, oh man, or you see a commercial like, oh, that pizza looks good. And then all of a sudden you got to go, no, thank you. I'm fasting today, but maybe tomorrow. So I'm going to do my 36-hour fast that I've been doing on Monday, and then I'm adding an additional 36-hour fast on Friday. And again, we want to make sure that as we come out of our fast, we're having a very fiber rich breakfast. So when I come out of the fast, I have a big bowl of oatmeal with my chia, hemp, and flax seeds in it. And it's not the steel cut oats, but it's sprouted rolled oats that I get at Costco. So I have that. Sometimes, if I'm really hungry, I will add one piece of my Dave's Killer bread and spritz the vinegar on it, and then do a little garlic on it. Because remember, garlic is great for your circulation and great for your heart. Not a lot, because a lot of garlic you can't even get through. Just a sprinkle of garlic on top of the vinegar on that bread, just so that I'm getting more fiber, and I'm not throwing the guacamole in there, because the guacamole has that fat that might get digested a little faster. What you want when you come out of that fast is that fiber to really feed that good bacteria that's way down in your colon and in your large intestine. You want it to really give them something to eat, because that's the bacteria that we want. And you don't want it to have a bunch of sugar. You don't want it to have a bunch of fat. You don't want it to have any of those things, so that up in the small intestine, where a lot of the bad gut bacteria live, a 36-hour fast basically starves them into submission, or maybe even kills them. I don't know. Again, I'm not a medical health professional. I'm not a scientist. I don't 100% understand this. And when you hear things on the internet like this, you gotta kind of go, does it really do that? Does it, And I just haven't dug into it far enough. Did dig into the good gut bacteria, and definitely when you feed them good fiber that they love, prebiotic, especially resistant starches, they love it. And when they're doing their job and they're growing and reproducing and all that stuff, and then you throw in that fast, it doesn't starve them out, because when you're fasting, there's still fiber way down in your large intestine that they're still eating. It's all the stuff in the small intestine where all the sugars and all the refined carbs and all the ultra processed foods get, broken down. They're the quick foods that get broken down. When all that stuff's in there, that's all gone. by the time you reach the end of your 36-hour fast. So all those bacteria are going, hey, what about us? Hey, what about us? We need some food too. These guys are still munching down the line from us, and we got nothing. We got nothing. Give us something. And they start, a lot of them starve to death or they weaken. So when you're doing a high fiber diet like the blueprint is, it helps your good gut bacteria. So keep those gut bacteria healthy. When you come out of a fast, don't feed the bad guys. Feed only the good guys, because there's still stuff down there that they're munching on. And when that new stuff gets down there, like, oh, hey, great, we got more food coming in. And you're starving the bad guys even worse. So there's bad gut bacteria. Good Lord, I can't say that. There's bad gut bacteria and there's good gut bacteria. You know, it's kind of like the old adage, if you've ever heard it, about which wolf are you going to feed, the good wolf or the bad wolf? Feed the good gut bacteria, especially when you're coming out of a fast. So I'm going to, for the month of December, and hopefully I can stick to this. I don't know how hard it'll be right now because it's an experiment. It's something I haven't done before, but it's going to be a Monday 36-hour fast and a Friday 36-hour fast, because I'm becoming part of the 5-2 club. I am doing this 5-2 fasting method just to see what happens, see whether I can handle it, see whether I like it, see whether I enjoy it, see if the weight drops, if the weight stalls, what happens with it, because I'm doing this with you guys. Like, I'm still in a learning process, and it's going to be a learning process for a very long time, because I have to figure out how to maintain this once I lose it all. And that's what I want you guys to take away from this. There will always be reevaluation periods. So what can you do differently? And especially important when you're coming off the pause, you know, your last couple of days of your pause, be thinking about, how am I going to what am I going to do other than just diving straight back into the blueprint? What do I need to change up? What works for me? What has worked for me? Can I add more of that in? The 36-hour fast on Mondays has worked freaking phenomenal for me. So can I add a second day of fasting in there? Can I do the 5-2 and then stick hardcore on my food for the month of December and see where it puts me at the end of December going into the new year? And that's what I'm going to do. So I guess you'll have to stay tuned. Remember to subscribe to the channel, because otherwise you might miss the December update to see how I did and see if this old coot did what he said he was going to do. Because I'm going to be honest with you. It's all there is to it. There's no reason for me to get on here and be one of these diet gurus that lies to you and tells you this is going to work and that's going to work and none of this shit works. I'm actually doing this. I'm actually day to day living this, trying to convey it to you so that I can help you out, because it changed my life. I mean, I'm down over 80 pounds. It has changed my life. It's changed my outlook on life. It's changed my outlook on all-cause mortality. My heart attack risk, my stroke risk is going down every month. Every pound that I lose, every 5 pounds that I lose, that gets better. So come along for this journey, man. Give me the old thumbs up. Let YouTube know that maybe this is worth someone's time and attention, someone that you don't know. That's why I'm putting this out there, because someone that I don't know, it's going to change their life. And it doesn't matter if they ever tell me it changed their life or not. I know someone's going to watch this and it's going to change their life. Remember to, buy me a coffee. Here's the QR code. There's a link down in the description. If you got value from this, if you bought diet pills and diet programs in the past and spent thousands of dollars like I have, hey, throw this old fart 3 or 5 or 10 coffees, or hell, if you really want to get crazy, throw me 1,000. I don't know. But help me keep this free, because this does not need to be behind a paywall. This can save people's lives. This can change people's lives. So I want it free. Help me keep it that way. And comment, drop me a comment. I respond to comments within 24 to 48 hours. I love talking to you guys, and your question may answer 50 other people's questions. So get in there, comment. Excuse me. This is my second video, so I'm getting a little dry in the throat. So come along for this journey, man, because it is going to be one hell of a journey. And if you don't know, it's already been one hell of a journey. Hasta luego.